Now, as the keen-eyed amongst you will have probably spotted, this is not a model steam engine. However, it does spit flames, so you know there is a slight connection there. Now, what this is, as I'm sure many of you already know, this is a Swedish Primus stove. Quite an old one. It's a number 5, and it's in a pretty poor state. So why are we looking at a Primus stove? Well, as you guys all know, I like to restore and repair things, and just occasionally I'll do tools and other things that are not really related to the model steam engines. And I spotted this on eBay, and it was pretty bad, and I hardly paid anything for it at all. But apparently it is complete, and it doesn't have any leaks or anything. So I thought, yeah, great. This, not only will this be good fun to get this back up to pristine condition, but also I think it will be quite useful. You know, basically, you know, I tend to preheat the water when I put it in my model steam engines. It just means that they steam up a lot faster. But to do this, I generally use a kettle. But as everybody knows, kettles nowadays use an awful lot of electricity, and you know, it costs a bloody fortune here in the UK. So I thought, yeah, this might be a nice alternative to boiling some or heating some water for steam engines. But no, anyway, it's going to be a good project. So as I said, it's all there. All the I'll let it come around, and we'll. It does appear to pump. I mean, I will take it out and have a look, because I think they were leather seals on there. I haven't got this tightened down. Or the valve is open at the moment, so I'm hoping that the pump part of it still works, but the burner's there and everything. The top grating is yeah in a poor state. Interestingly, it's got England written on it, so I don't know whether that means it was made in England, the grate, or whether or not it was for England, this particular grate, for export. So, but yes, there's a lot of work to do. But I think we can get this thing back up and looking nice and operational. Time to strip down the little Primus stove. I don't think it should be too difficult, fingers crossed, because there's not very many parts to it. So first up, the top plate, which as you can see is incredibly rusty. So that's going to go straight in a vinegar bath. As I pointed out in the first few clips, it's actually got England written on here. Now, most of the ones I've seen of these, they have Sweden, which makes sense because the thing's made in Sweden. But so what I'm thinking is this is possibly a replacement plate. I know you can get spares that are made all over the place, in fact, for these things. So yeah, I think that's probably a replacement. So that's going to go in the in a vinegar bath. Unscrew the easy bits, the pressure release valve. There we go. Silica, which has got a rubber seal in it, which seems to be okay actually. I was quite impressed with that. You know. Primus and Sweden on the fill cap. The pump. There we go. There's the pump. I think this feels like it's a leather cup washer here, and it looks to be in bloody good condition. It's not hard, it's quite soft, so probably just needs soaking in oil and it will be fine. I think this does all disassemble. I think you can, yeah, so you can take the handle off, that just unscrews like that. That comes off, that's the threaded cup which holds it all in place. And I also think that you can remove this. I think that nut unscrews, and then you can take all that off. So that's good. Right, now full disclosure, I did try and get this nut undone, which is the burner assembly. It wouldn't budge, and obviously this is only brass, so it's, you know, it's not that strong. So I've heated that up, and I've actually got it. I cracked it and got it loose. So we should be able to, yeah, unscrew this now. Still nice and warm, actually. Okay. Oh, it is coming. It's obviously quite a fine thread on there. There we go. This cup is the preheater, which you fill that with methylated spirits and light it, and that then heats this up to help vaporize the paraffin. So, yeah. Oh, looks pretty grotty in there. The little jet, let me get my pointy stick. So the actual paraffin jet is that there, just in there. You can see that, yeah. And that actually unscrews, so I'm going to have a go at getting that out. But this whole thing needs to be seriously cleaned. I'll probably dunk this in the vinegar too, because it's pretty crappy inside there, pretty grotty. And that's basically it. Some of them had tubes soldered to the side for these legs to stand in, but these are actually soldered on, so I can't really take it apart any further. But yeah, so we need to start the cleanup. Oh, one of the things that I did actually buy for it that was missing is the flame spreader that sits on here, which is one of these little mateys. And just sits on there. You can get all sorts of spares for these Primus stoves. They're still made, so that's fantastic. So yeah, so that just spreads the flame out around these little holes. That was about £4, I think. Not expensive. Right, so yeah, I think that quite a lot of dust has come out of the actual fuel tank area, for want of a better word for this part. So what I think I might do is make a cap up for that and then fill this up with vinegar, and hopefully that will clean the insides. So right, let's go on with it. Well, found this old baking tray that I use for parts washing mainly, and it just so happens that the plate fits perfectly in there, so that will be my vinegar soaking tray, as long as it doesn't leak, for the plate. So that's that one sorted. I've done is I've taken the cap that the plunger goes through, and that's an OBA brass bolt with some washers, and that will screw on there and allow me hopefully to fill this up pretty much to the top with vinegar and clean out the tank. Now, the other thing I managed to do was, amazingly, I managed to get the little tiny jet. There we go. That is the jet. I actually managed to get it unscrewed using, of all things, a BA box spanner. But yeah, so that goes. That has come out of there. Okay, so this has got a lot of soot and crud in it, so I'm gonna put this in vinegar as well to soak it, and the jet, hoping that the jet's okay. But you can buy new jets, they are available. Not all is lost if that one doesn't work. Right, let's get on with the mucky process. Right, we're off. I've used old vinegar for the plate because the plate is in terrible condition, and that old vinegar will work just as well as new vinegar, and there's no need for me to see what's going on while it's doing its job. So that will stay in overnight. I've got fresh vinegar in this Pyrex jug here, and I've got the meths tray, the main burner unit, and the jet is all in there, and hopefully that will remove any carbon deposits that are on that whole assembly. The fuel tank base, the kettle, whatever you want to call it, this is now filled up with vinegar right up to, well, it's not completely full, but it's up to the jet, so it's up to about here. So that will descale and get any crud that's on the inside of that off. So now I'll just leave all that overnight, and we'll take it from there and see what it's like tomorrow morning. Well, it's the following day. I'm just about to take the vinegar out of this and take the top plate out of the vinegar bath that it's in. Interestingly enough, the heating element, which as you can see is now nice and shiny, it only took about an hour and a half for the vinegar to take all of the, basically 90% of the the soot that was on there off. The same with the meths cup again, and then I just cleaned them up on the brass wire wheel. I also polished up the pump handle, so that's come up quite nicely, and I even polished up my relatively new old stock flame spreader. So that's all done. So yeah, we're going to empty the vinegar out of the tank first, and we'll have a look, see what sort of state the vinegar's in, and hopefully it's cleaned up the inside. So we'll take that off because it's below the level of that, and then we'll move it over here, and hopefully we can pour it out of this one. Of course, that's the that's the pump tube, so that'll have a non-return valve in it, so it's not going to come out of there. But I think we're pretty much there. I'll wash this out with water, obviously, and yeah, it's pretty mucky. Let's have a look in there. Yeah, so it's pretty discoloured, and there's a few bits of crap floating around in there as well. So hopefully that's done its job. We'll flush that out. The next thing is to have a look at the metal plate. Right, so I'm going to give it a real good brush with the this time a steel wire brush, because obviously this is not a delicate item, shall we say. You know, this is obviously steel, given how much rust it's got on it. Now obviously I can't actually see anything. Let's turn it around, because it's obviously this is, as I said, I used old vinegar on this, and and it's pretty dark. Right, let's work that out. Oh yes, that is definitely looking a lot better. Yeah, it's done a good job on that. Let's give the other side a bit of a brush over. Yeah, well pleased with that. Right, I've given the fuel tank a wash out with some hot clean water, so that's all the inside done on that. Now we've got to start cleaning up the outside. That is the top plate, as you can see, and it is now looking a hell of a lot better for being in the vinegar overnight. Now, did it remove all the rust? No, it didn't get all the rust off, but it's got 95% of it, and I'll go over it with a wire brush, and that will clean up just nice. I think obviously the flame's going to come up through the middle here, so I think what I'll probably do with this is just paint it with the high temperature engine paint, and that should be enough to protect it. So yeah, that's coming along nicely. So the next job will be, as I said, wire brush this, and then start work on the on the tank and get that all cleaned up. So yeah, that's the next stage.